Good afternoon, everyone. As you can see by the title, I have chose to talk about the ecological impacts of transgenic crops on Agroecosystems health. I picked this article based on the premise that I think agriculture is going to become a very major factor in all of our lives in the not so distant future. In class, we talked about healthy ecosystems lead to healthy people, but it is a known fact that genetically modified foods or crops are becoming nutrient deprived, have less energy than wild or traditional crops, and can lead to a wide variety of ailments within the population. As the population continues to grow at an alarming rate, one of the most important factors which is going to affect all of us is food growth and consumption. This article was written in 2000 at a time where there was a heightened debate over genetically modified foods, and this debate seems to be gaining momentum again. The big genetically modified companies such as Monsanto, DuPont, and Novartis use chemicals and genetically add them to the seed of the plant or the specific crop in order to make it more resistant to disease or pests. For example, in 1997 there were 18 million hectares of transgenic soybeans and 10 million hectares of maize that were resistant to pests and disease, and this has steadily increased every year. Once these companies started to widely disperse these products, there was a growing concern from the environmentalist community, as there seemed to be very little regard for long-term analysis of how these chemicals affected people. In fact, Monsanto had some of its chemicals discontinued due to adverse effects on humans, which saw Roundup Ready canola pulled off of the market. Scientists are worried about the lack of diversity within certain species. They claim by treating the crops genetically, they will ruin any wild crop strain that is out there and ultimately to cause pests to leave one field and feed on another field which has not been treated. And this could cause entire crops to be decimated. Monsanto's response to this was for farmers to allow 30 or 40% of the field to be planted with a non-gen mod crop, thus giving the pests a host to feed on. However, it is the farming community that was expected to take the 30 to 40% loss in their field, but when they were spraying with the old conventional way, their yield may not have been as high, but they were able to reap the entire fields. So in conclusion, I personally think that as a society, we need to demand change from our politicians. We deserve to have healthy foods from our local farmers, which are not genetically modified. The lawmakers and the WTO have to put more power back into the hands of citizens and not the corporations. This notion of intellectual property rights and the mentality behind it will not only hurt the ecosystems, but ultimately the population in the end. Thank you. Any questions?